There are moments in life when we move through the world pretending that everything is fine. We smile, we laugh, we talk like we are okay. But deep inside, there is a storm that no one can see. Every person carries a world within themselves, a world of thoughts, emotions, memories and fears that remain hidden behind invisible walls. It is easy to look strong in front of others. It is easy to wear a smile and keep walking, even when the weight of silence feels unbearable. But the truth is that everyone has a side that they never show to anyone, a space where they are most honest and most vulnerable. There are days when the world feels heavy, and we wish someone could understand without us saying a word. But they never do, because what we feel cannot always be explained with words, so we lock it away behind a door, our own private door, the one that hides the parts of us we do not want to reveal, the pain, the hope, the dreams that never came true, the fears that wake us in the middle of the night. Behind that door is a version of us that only we know, the real version, the one that breathes. Through quiet moments and survives through unseen struggles, no one really knows what lies behind another person's door, because what is hidden there is not just a secret. It is a story. It is a collection of everything that made them who they are. It is the laughter they share with no one, the tears they never let fall in front of others, the thoughts that echo in silence. That door becomes a symbol of the human soul, both fragile and strong, both broken and beautiful. It is where we keep our truth, where we face ourselves, where we find the courage to heal in a world that rarely gives us space to be real. So when you see someone walking past you, smiling, laughing, living like everything is perfect, remember that behind every calm expression there might be a door, and behind that door there might be a story, a storm or a struggle that you will never see, because every door hides a truth, and every soul carries a silence that only it can understand. Every door holds a mystery that no one can truly see. It stands like a silent witness between what is shown to the world and what is hidden. Deep within, when a door closes, it becomes a wall between the truth of the soul and the noise of the outside world. Behind that door lies a universe that no one else can enter, a place where emotions breathe freely without fear of judgment. It might hold the laughter that bursts out when no one is around, the quiet tears that fall into the dark, or the thoughts that never find their way into words. Behind that door are pieces of a person that even they might struggle to understand. It is not just a door, it is a guardian of everything real. It keeps the chaos out and holds the heart together. Inside, there are dreams built in silence and memories that whisper like old friends. It is the space where someone fights their battles alone and also rebuilds themselves again and again. Sometimes it is filled with light, and sometimes it drowns in shadow, but it always tells a story that no one else will ever read. People outside see only a smile or a face that looks fine, but they never see the storm that waits behind that simple wooden frame. Behind that door, the soul finds its truest voice. It speaks in moments of stillness. It questions, it remembers, it feels the weight of everything left unsaid. There is power in that hidden space, because it holds the truth of being human, the raw, unfiltered version that never needs to impress or explain. And that truth, though unseen, is what keeps the heart alive. It is where every fear hides and every dream begins. It is where the real self exists, waiting quietly behind the door. Behind my door, there are battles no one sees, silent wars fought in the darkness of the night when the world has fallen asleep. It is the place where I face the parts of myself that I never show to anyone, where I question my worth, my choices, my direction, and yet keep standing, even when my strength fades. There are nights when fear sits beside me, whispering that I am not enough, and mornings when I rise anyway, pretending that nothing touches me. But the truth is that behind that closed space, my mind becomes a storm filled with doubts and dreams clashing like thunder. And rain I fall, and I rise again and again, but no one knows, because those battles are mine alone. There are days when the silence behind that door feels heavy, like it might crush me. But in that silence, I learn what it means to endure. I learn that strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is just surviving through the moments that break you from the inside. I face the ghosts of old memories and the echoes of words that once hurt. I relive mistakes. I try to forgive myself. I search for reasons to keep believing behind that door. I am stripped of every mask I wear outside. There is no pretending, no need to smile or prove anything. It is just me, raw, fragile human trying to find peace in the middle of chaos. No one outside can see those moments. They see only the calm, the smile, the strength they think I carry easily. But they never see the cracks I hide behind. Laughter, the sleepless nights that build that same strength they admire behind that door. I learn what real courage means. It is not in showing perfection. It is in surviving imperfection. It is in waking up again after every unseen fall. It is in holding myself together when no one comes to help. And that space, though silent, becomes my battlefield, my teacher, my reminder that even the quietest struggles can create the loudest strength. We all wear masks every single day. Masks that protect us from being too exposed, from being too real. We smile when we are breaking. We laugh when our hearts ache. We act strong when the weight of the world is pressing on our shoulders. The world only sees the version we choose to show, the polished version, the one that looks confident, happy, and in control. But when the door closes and the crowd disappears, the mask falls, and what is left is the truth, the raw, unfiltered self that no one else gets to see behind that door. There is no pretending, no forced smiles, no perfect posture. It is where the soul breathes freely, after being suffocated by the expectations of others. It is where I drop the armor I wear all day, and finally feel what I have been holding back, the exhaustion, the sadness, the quiet longing to be understood. The world outside demands strength. But behind the door, I do not have to be strong. I can be real. I can be weak. I can be lost. And no one will judge me for it. That moment of truth is both painful and freeing, because in that hidden space I can finally see who I really am. The mask we wear is not always a lie. Sometimes it is a shield, a way to survive, a way to keep moving through a world that rarely understands softness or pain. But living behind it too long makes you forget your true face. You begin to mistake the performance for your identity. You start believing that your worth depends on how well you can hide your struggles and keep smiling. But behind the door, the truth always finds its way back. It whispers in the quiet, reminding you that the world may love your mask, but peace only comes when you love the person underneath. That private space becomes the only place where the mask loses its power. It is where all the emotions that have been buried all day finally rise, the tears, the memories, the anger, the dreams. All of them come rushing out in waves. It is not weakness, it is honesty. It is the soul taking off its disguise and standing naked before itself. Because behind that door, there is no applause, no audience, no judgment, just the truth of being human, raw and real. Sometimes closing the door is not about hiding from the world. It is about finding a space where healing can begin. It is a quiet sanctuary where the noise of life fades and the heart can breathe again. The world outside can be loud, demanding and cruel. It asks for perfection. It expects energy. It never stops. But behind the door, there is calm. There is stillness. There is the chance to mend what has been broken within. When I walk into that space and shut everything else out, I am not running away. I am returning to myself behind that door. I can finally listen to the voice I silence every day. The one that tells me to rest. The one that tells me to stop pretending. The one that reminds me that I am human. I can cry there without shame. I can think without interruption. I can let the walls inside me fall for a little, while it becomes a sacred place where I face my wounds, where I let the pain breathe instead of burying it. Deeper healing is not always about fixing something. It is about feeling it completely, and behind that door, I allow myself to feel the world outside. Rarely gives us time to pause. We keep moving because stopping feels like failure. But the truth is, healing needs space. It needs quiet. It needs the absence of eyes watching. It is in that private silence that the heart starts stitching itself back together piece by piece. Sometimes I sit there in the dark and let the silence hold me. And in that stillness I realize that it is okay to fall apart for a while, because every break, every scar is teaching me something new behind that door. There are no roles, no expectations, no need to be brave. I can be soft. I can be unsure. I can be real. It is in that softness that strength slowly grows again, when I allow the quiet to wash over me. I start hearing the faint whispers of hope. Again, I start seeing that pain is not the end. It is a passage. It is a part of becoming whole, and every time I return to that silent room, I leave a little stronger than before, because that is where healing learns to live. Silence is often misunderstood. People think silence means peace. They think when someone is quiet, they are calm. They think no words means no pain. But silence has a voice of its own, and it speaks the loudest when no one is listening behind my door. Silence becomes a mirror. It reflects everything I have been trying to escape, the memories, the fears, the regrets, the things I wish I could say, but never did. It becomes heavy like a blanket pressing on my chest. It carries the sound of thoughts that never stop spinning and carries the weight of emotions I can't put into words. There are moments when the silence feels endless. It fills every corner of the room and sits beside me like an old friend. It doesn't comfort me, but it doesn't leave either. In that stillness, I start to face myself. I see the parts I ignore when I'm surrounded by noise. I see the mistakes I made, the chances I lost, the people I miss, the person I used to be. Silence forces me to confront the truth. It strips away every distraction until all that is left is me, raw, unguarded, exposed. And in that confrontation I realize that silence is not my enemy. It is my teacher, sometimes the silence behind. My door feels like a confession. It tells me that I am tired, that I have been pretending too long. It whispers that it is okay to feel broken. It reminds me of the things I hide from the world. I learn that silence is not empty. It is full of meaning. It holds everything. Words cannot express every heartbreak, every disappointment, every dream. I am afraid to chase the silence, listens without judgment. It holds my tears, it holds my secrets, it holds me. There are nights when I sit in that silence and feel it move through me like a wave. It hurts at first, because it brings everything I tried to bury. But as it lingers, it begins to heal me in its own quiet way. It gives me space to think, to breathe, to understand myself better. Behind my door, silence is not just the absence of sound. It is the presence of truth, the kind of truth that cannot be spoken but only felt deep inside, where no one else can reach. We live in a world where people are quick to see, but slow to understand, where they look at someone's face and believe they know their story. They see a smile and assume happiness. They see silence and assume peace. They see confidence and assume strength. But they never see the invisible storms that rage behind those expressions. They never see what it takes for a person to hold themselves together behind my door. I have learned that judgment comes easy when people only see the surface, because no one really wants to look deeper. They are afraid of what they might find behind that door. I have felt the sting of being misunderstood, of being seen, but never truly known. People think they can read you, but they only read the pages you allow them to see. They never turn to the chapters that are too painful, too complicated, too real. They don't know the nights you cried into your pillow, or the mornings you forced yourself to smile. They don't see the way your heart trembles when you pretend to be fine. The world moves too fast to notice the quiet suffering that hides in plain sight, so people assume, and they label, and they decide what kind of person you are without ever knocking on the door. To ask, judging without knowing, is one of the cruelest things we do. We build opinions out of fragments, out of rumors, out of half-truths. But every person is more than what they show, more than what others say. Behind every calm face could be a mind full of chaos. Behind every joke could be a heart begging for relief. Behind every success could be pain that no one ever noticed. When we learn to stop assuming, we begin to see people for who they really are, not who they pretend to be. Behind my door, I have carried moments that no one knows about, the times I broke down and still had to show up like nothing happened, the times I wanted to scream but chose to smile because I didn't want to burden anyone with my truth. If people knew the weight of what others carry, they would be gentler, they would be slower to judge and quicker to care. It takes courage to live unseen. It takes strength to smile when no one understands your pain, and that is something judgment will never recognize. Because judgment sees only the mask. while compassion sees the soul behind that door where no one sees strength is born, not the kind of strength that comes from applause or success, but the kind that grows quietly in the dark, the kind that rises after every fall, every tear, every sleepless night. It is the strength that comes from enduring the moments that no one else knows about, when everything inside you feels broken, but you still choose to keep going. It is in those hidden spaces that resilience is built, one silent breath at a time behind my door. I have learned that true strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "Get up one more time." There are nights when the weight of everything feels too heavy and I crumble, but in that breaking, something inside me refuses to give up. It is as if the heart learns how to fight, even when the mind says it cannot. That is where real courage is formed. It is not the absence of pain, it is the decision to stand again. Despite it, behind that door, I face every version of myself. The scared one, the angry one, the lost one. And somehow I gather all of them and make them rise together. Each time I fall, I rebuild myself from the pieces that were meant to destroy me. People see strength as power, as perfection, as something loud and fearless, but the strongest moments are often the quietest, the ones where no one claps, no one cheers, no one even knows you are struggling. You just fight, through the silence, through the loneliness, through the fear, until the storm passes. That is the strength born behind closed doors. It is made of small victories, that the world never sees, the kind of victories that come from choosing not to quit, when quitting would be easier. Behind that door, pain becomes a teacher, and failure becomes fuel. Every scar turns into proof that I have survived something that tried to end me. And every time I rise from the ashes of my own doubt, I become stronger than I was before. No one else may witness it, but I feel it in my bones. I feel it in the way I keep standing no matter what comes my way. Strength is not given. It is created in silence, shaped by struggle and polished by endurance. It grows in the shadows, unseen, untouched, uncelebrated, but unbreakable. The door is more than just wood and metal. It is a boundary between the world and the soul. It stands as a guardian protecting the truest parts of who we are, the parts that rarely see the light of day. Behind that door there is no act, no performance, no pretending. It is where the heart rests, where the mind breathes, where the soul speaks freely, without fear of being misunderstood. It separates the chaos outside from the calm within, and in that quiet separation we find the courage to face ourselves as we really are. Behind that door is the version of me that few have ever met, the one who dreams without limits, who hurts without hiding, who feels everything deeply. It is a space untouched by the noise of judgment or expectation, where every scar tells a story and every breath carries a memory. There are moments when I sit in that space and realize that the door is not meant to keep people out, but to keep me safe. It gives me permission to exist without performance, to be fragile without shame, to find peace without needing approval. The world outside demands so much. It asks you to smile, to succeed, to stay strong, even when your soul is tired. But behind that door, I am free from those demands. I can let my thoughts wander. I can speak to my own heart. I can remember who I was before the world told me who I should be. That door becomes a passage between two worlds, the outer world that sees and judges, and the inner world that feels and heals. And every time I close it, I am reminded that it is okay to take a step back from the noise. Sometimes I stand by that door and listen to the quiet on the other side. It feels like a heartbeat, steady and sure, reminding me that beyond the expectations, beyond the noise, beyond everything I show, there exists something pure, something sacred, my inner world, my truth, my essence. Behind that door, I am not defined by titles or roles or opinions. I am simply human, full of love, fear, hope, and endless potential. And that door stands as a silent witness to it all. It holds my story, my pain, my strength, and my becoming. And maybe that is what makes every door so powerful, because it holds stories that words can never fully express. It reminds us that there is always more to a person than what we see on the surface. The smile someone wears might be hiding a 1,000 unspoken tears, the calmness in their eyes, might be holding back storms that have raged for years, and the silence they carry might not be emptiness at all, but the weight of everything they have survived. Every door stands as a quiet witness to those untold battles. It listens to the laughter that fades when no one is around, and it keeps the secrets that hearts are too afraid to share behind every closed door. There is a life unfolding quietly, a soul learning how to heal itself in its own way. It is where people fall apart and then gather their strength again, where they face their fears without applause, where they hold their pain and still find reasons to hope. The world outside may never understand what it takes to stand tall after breaking so many times, but the door knows. It has seen the tears that never touched the ground and the dreams that refused to die, no matter how dark the night became. So when you walk past someone's door, remember that you are not seeing the full story. You are only seeing what they allow you to see, and that is okay, because everyone deserves a place to keep their truth safe. Behind every smile, there is history. Behind every silence, there is depth. Behind every person, there is a door that protects their heart. And maybe that door is not meant to be opened by anyone else. It is meant to remind them that even in their quietest moments, they are never truly alone. They carry within them a world that is theirs and theirs alone. And perhaps the most beautiful thing about these unseen doors is that they are proof of our strength. They show that we can fall, we can shatter, and still rise again. They show that healing does not always need an audience. Sometimes it only needs a little silence and a space to breathe. So the next time you see a closed door, don't think of it as the end. Think of it as the beginning of something sacred, a place where a soul is learning to grow, to understand, to forgive, and to find its light again.